Before we start, pay attention. Every time you spot trivia in this video, keep counting. Comment the final number, stay subscribed, and you could win an Amazon gift card this month. Subscribe? Good. Let's go. In the near future, mass unemployment, homelessness, and civil unrest drive Los Angeles into a severe crime epidemic. Prisons become overcrowded, and the government establishes designated red zones to contain violent criminals. Despite these measures, hundreds of police officers continue to die in the line of duty each day. In response, the government introduces the mercy court system. The program uses artificial intelligence to serve as judge, jury, and executioner. Suspects are brought to trial within hours of their alleged crimes, eliminating lengthy court proceedings. The system operates under the assumption that suspects are guilty unless proven innocent. Within 2 years, the program executes 18 individuals and reduces crime by 68%, saving billions in public funds and restoring a sense of safety. Detective Chris awakens in a courtroom, restrained in a chair, while a video describing the Mercy program plays on a screen in front of him. The AI judge, Maddox, appears and announces that the trial can begin now that his alcohol level has dropped. She explains that he was unconscious for nearly 6 hours and instructs him to swear an oath to tell the truth. After Chris complies, Maddox informs him that he is being charged with the murder of his wife, Nicole. Body camera footage shows police officers entering Chris's home. They discover Nicole on the floor, bleeding, while their daughter Britt cries beside her. Nicole has been stabbed. When officers ask who attacked her, she says Chris's name. Chris reacts in shock as he watches the footage. Maddox states that Chris had been alone in the house with Nicole at the time of the attack. Chris searches the news through the system and confirms that reports of the case are already circulating publicly. The coverage also references his earlier support for the Mercy program. Chris and his partner Jack previously arrested a murderer named David, the first person tried under the Mercy system. Maddox asks Chris to enter his plea. He states that he is not guilty. She reports that her analysis of the evidence assigns a 97.5% probability of guilt. To avoid execution, the probability must be reduced to 92%. Chris has 90 minutes to defend himself. He is granted access to the Los Angeles Municipal Cloud, the legally mandated network connecting personal and corporate devices across the city. If he fails to lower the probability threshold, the chair will execute him with a sonic pulse.
No.
A timer appears on the screen as Maddox begins reviewing the evidence. Records show Chris arriving at work at 8:51 a.m., but he never leaves his vehicle. Instead, he drives home. When he arrives, Nicole refuses to open the door and tells him he must communicate through a lawyer. Chris strikes the camera in frustration and then enters using his keys. Nicole attempts to force him back outside before the door closes. Maddox fast-forwards the footage and reports that Chris remained in the house for 26 minutes. Shortly after he leaves, Britt returns from a sleepover and begins screaming. The investigation determines that Nicole was stabbed by a right-handed attacker. A single wound damages her spine and pierces her liver. Fresh traces of Nicole's blood are found on Chris's clothing. After leaving the house, Chris goes to a bar. He initially denies this, but security footage shows him heavily intoxicated. When police attempt to arrest him, he fights them and is subdued with a taser. He runs from the building and attempts to steal a civilian vehicle before officers tackle him and render him unconscious. Chris claims he has no memory of these events. Maddox attributes the memory loss to alcohol intoxication. Chris asks to speak with Britt, but Mercy Court rules prohibit juvenile witnesses. Britt is currently staying with her maternal grandparents. However, the system allows a message to be sent to the deceased relatives requesting contact during periods of grief. Chris struggles to compose a message and ultimately allows Maddox to send the automatic version. The rules also allow a suspect to contact a sponsor. A recorded video message from Rob, Chris's Alcoholics Anonymous sponsor, appears. Rob criticizes Chris for failing to reach out when he felt the urge to drink. Rob also explains that he worked with Nicole and contacted the police when she failed to appear for her shift. After the message ends, Maddox reviews the couple's history. Chris and Nicole began dating 20 years earlier and married 3 years later. Britt was born the following year. Their lives remained stable until Chris lost his partner Ray in the line of duty. The event led him back into alcoholism and placed strain on the marriage. Nicole eventually began considering divorce. Messages Nicole sent to friends and family indicate that Chris lost his temper 57 times during the previous 6 months. Another video shows Britt speaking online with a man Chris does not recognize. Maddox explains that Britt maintains secret social media accounts where she posts photographs of her clothing and social activities. In the video, Britt tells a friend that her mother has been crying and that her father often becomes aggressive. During the trial, Britt calls Chris. She breaks down emotionally, and he tells her that he did not kill Nicole and that he believes he was arrested by mistake. Her grandfather soon forces her to end the call. Maddox reminds Chris that he has 1 hour and 8 minutes remaining. Chris contacts Jack, who is still at the crime scene. While reviewing case files on the system, he asks Jack to guide him through the house. A digital reconstruction overlays the footage. In the living room, a broken vase lies on the floor. Chris suggests it may indicate defensive action. In the kitchen, investigators find Britt's bloody footprints and bloodstains on the wall, suggesting a struggle. A broken plate also appears to have been used in defense. One knife is missing from a kitchen set that matches the weapon used in the stabbing. Chris's fingerprints are on the knife, though he explains he previously used it while cooking. Investigators also recover fibers, hair, skin, and DNA consistent with Chris. Chris then examines Nicole's phone records, recalling that he saw her texting after their argument. The logs show no messages during that time. Chris asks whether Nicole had a work phone. Maddox was unaware of a second device. Using Chris's call records, she retrieves the number and initiates a call. Jack hears a phone ringing in a car outside the house. She breaks the window and retrieves the device. The phone is a black market model not registered to the municipal cloud. Its only communications are with another unregistered phone. Maddox calls the number. The person on the other end disconnects immediately, but the signal provides a location. Jack travels there on a flying police bike. While waiting, Maddox observes that Chris had previously suspected Nicole was hiding something. The guilt probability drops to 0.8%. The second phone is traced to a hotel. Officers move to intercept a man leaving through the back entrance. When Patrick sees the police, he runs inside the building. A chase follows. Maddox retrieves his records and identifies him as a chef behind on rent and previously investigated for social security fraud. Officers pursue him through the hotel, but he temporarily escapes by entering an area without cameras. Jack deploys a drone, which locates him on the roof. Officers pursue and tackle him, capturing him on a lower platform. Patrick insists he is innocent and ran because he believed he would be blamed. Chris questions why Nicole would communicate with him. Patrick responds that he provided support Chris could not. He admits he flirted with Nicole and that they met several times, but says the relationship never progressed further. Nicole wanted to speak privately, so he obtained burner phones. Maddox reviews surveillance footage of their meetings and confirms Patrick's account. Security cameras at Patrick's workplace show he was present throughout the day, eliminating him as a suspect. Patrick criticizes Chris for neglecting his family, stating that Nicole wanted someone who would listen to her. Despite the explanation, Jack detains Patrick for resisting arrest. With 53 minutes remaining, Chris's guilt probability rises to 98% because the information establishes a possible motive. Chris then reveals that Nicole discovered the bottle of alcohol he kept hidden in his car earlier that day. He admits he has been drinking again for about a year. Maddox retrieves earlier footage showing Nicole confronting Chris in the garage after finding him drinking. The confrontation leads him to begin attending Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, where he meets Rob. Another video shows Chris and Ray preparing to confront a suspect in a vehicle. During the operation, Chris receives a phone call from Nicole. Ray instructs him to answer it while he approaches the suspect alone. The suspect opens fire, forcing Ray back into the police car and crushing him. Chris attempts to drive Ray to the hospital while pursuing the suspect. He eventually forces the suspect's vehicle off the road and arrests him, but Ray dies from his injuries. The suspect is later found not guilty in court. Maddox asks Chris to recall the events of the day. Chris explains that when he arrived at work, he noticed the bottle was missing from his car and realized Nicole had found it. He returned home, where an argument followed. During the confrontation, he broke the vase because Nicole valued it. The broken pieces cut her, which explains the blood on his clothing. He says he cannot remember what happened afterward. Chris considers the possibility that he may have committed the crime while intoxicated. Maddox reminds him that 43 minutes remain and that he still has full access to the system. Chris reviews Nicole's contacts and calls Patrick again, asking whether she mentioned problems at work. Patrick says she was under pressure because chemicals had gone missing at her workplace, and she had been asked to monitor her colleagues. Chris asks Maddox whether any co-workers had visited the neighborhood recently. She reports that they last gathered there during a barbecue on Sunday. Chris sends Jack to Viking Shipping Depot, Nicole's workplace. While waiting, he studies footage from the barbecue to identify the employees present. Maddox reports that each of them has an alibi for the day. Chris requests footage from a neighbor's camera, but the system reports a recording outage and the files are still being archived. He then reviews footage of vehicles arriving at the barbecue and notices that Rob's car carried 3 additional passengers. Chris calls Rob and asks who they were. Rob provides their names and states that none of them left with him, though all reported for work the following day. Chris reviews Britt's video from the previous night and notices the timestamp. The recording occurred while he was at work, meaning he could not have been responsible for Nicole's distress during that moment. Because Britt may now qualify as a witness, Maddox allows Chris to call her again. Britt is angry after seeing footage of Chris's arrest and learning that he resumed drinking. She asks whether he may have killed Nicole. Her grandfather attempts to end the call, but Maddox prevents it as part of the trial process. Chris asks Britt what she heard the previous night. She says she heard Nicole crying and unusual sounds in the house. A video from her account shows her searching the house. Chris notices the basement door is open. Britt says she never opened it. Maddox enhances the image, revealing a hand on the doorknob. The evidence suggests that one of the barbecue guests remained behind and hid in the basement for 2 days. To identify the person, Chris examines servers from Nicole's company. Email records show that someone falsified stock reports to conceal the disappearance of 300 kilograms of chemicals over the past 6 months. The missing material is uragranules, commonly used in fertilizers, dermatological products, and certain illegal substances widely traded in red zones. Another message instructs Nicole to meet someone at the docks. Chris retrieves surveillance footage from a meeting. Nicole is seen arguing with Holt, who asks her not to contact the police and requests additional time. Nicole refuses, stating that her job is at risk. Holt reacts angrily. Further investigation shows Holt is heavily in debt due to gambling. Financial records reveal that Rob has repeatedly provided him with money. Chris's guilt probability drops to 94.7%. Chris calls Rob again, but Holt answers the phone. He says he will search for Rob. Maddox attempts to determine Holt's location during the time of the murder, but finds no records. Chris asks Maddox to check the neighbor's camera again. The partially uploaded footage shows movement in nearby bushes. Holt later returns to the call and says he cannot find Rob. Chris accuses him of stealing the chemicals. Holt responds that Rob was responsible and that he tried to help cover for him because of personal debts. Holt says a co-worker reported that Rob left in a company truck. He also confirms that Rob did not appear at work the previous day and that the last time he saw him was at the barbecue. At that gathering, Rob asked Holt to give several guests rides home while he remained behind. Maddox tracks the missing truck and Chris sends Jack to intercept it. At the same time, the neighbor's footage finishes uploading and shows Rob emerging from the trunk of a parked car. Chris's guilt probability drops slightly to 93.4%. With 19 minutes remaining, Chris contacts police units near Rob's residence and informs them that Rob owns firearms. Jack leads a team to the house and forces entry, but Rob is not present.
Yellow touching down.
Chris observes that the truck is also missing and concludes that Rob removed the tracker before leaving. Inside the house, officers find a torn photograph showing Rob with another boy. Records indicate Rob grew up in a children's home and that many documents were lost during a data breach. Maddox begins searching for the image online. In the garage, officers find the missing chemicals and evidence that they had been processed. The materials appear to have been used to produce illegal substances. They also discover the truck's license plates and a manual describing how chemicals can be used to create explosives. If Rob has constructed a bomb, the intended target remains unknown. Traffic cameras soon locate the truck moving quickly toward the city center. At the same time, Maddox completes the search on the photograph and identifies the second boy as David, the first person executed by the Mercy Court. David and Rob were brothers, though Rob was adopted separately and given a different surname. Chris realizes that Rob befriended him after David's death as part of a plan for revenge. He concludes that the truck is carrying a bomb intended for the courtroom. A drone approaches the vehicle and confirms that Rob is driving. Another person is seated beside him, though the camera cannot clearly identify the passenger. Chris calls Britt's phone. His father-in-law answers and says Britt stepped outside for fresh air. Chris checks the home security camera and sees Rob abducting Britt. Meanwhile, officers in Rob's garage discover a timer attached to an explosive device. They begin evacuating, and most escape before the house explodes.
We got a timer!
Can't get up.
Maddox concludes that the device in the garage contained only a portion of the chemicals. The larger bomb is likely in the truck. Jack confirms she survived the explosion and continues pursuing the vehicle. At this point, Chris's guilt probability falls to 0. Maddox prepares to end the trial, but Chris refuses because he still needs access to the system to stop Rob. Maddox notes that only 9 minutes remain before the execution sequence begins. Chris accepts the risk. Police vehicles pursue the truck through the city. Rob drives aggressively, forcing officers aside and colliding with civilian vehicles. News helicopters begin broadcasting the chase. As the truck reaches a bridge, a SWAT helicopter attempts to lower an officer onto it, but the maneuver fails. Jack orders her team to disable the vehicle, despite Chris reminding her that Britt is inside. Maddox agrees with the decision. Officers deploy a small remote vehicle carrying an explosive charge beneath the truck, but the connection fails and the device does not detonate. With 4 minutes remaining, Maddox issues an evacuation alert for the surrounding area. Chris asks Jack to move ahead of the truck and try to communicate. Through the drone feed, he sees Britt pleading for help while Rob continues driving. Rob states that David was innocent and begins explaining his claim. Before he can continue, Jack opens fire. The attack causes her to lose control of her bike and fall. The truck crashes into the courthouse building. At the same moment, the execution chair begins its sequence. A power outage interrupts Maddox's system, leaving it operating on a backup battery. In the lobby, Rob uses Britt as a shield and shoots several guards attempting to stop him. With only seconds remaining in the execution sequence, Maddox restores power and stops the trial. Chris exits the courtroom and reaches the lobby, taking protective gear from Fallen Guard. He attempts to negotiate with Rob, while Maddox searches for records related to David. Rob holds a detonator connected to the bomb. Maddox appears on a nearby screen and offers Rob the opportunity to clear his brother's name. Rob states that he spoke with David by phone at the time of the murder. Maddox replies that no phone was recovered from David when he was found beside the victim. During the argument, Britt bites Rob's arm and breaks free. Chris tackles Rob, and the two struggle for control of the detonator. Rob fires his gun repeatedly during the fight. Chris manages to pull wires from the device and disable it. He kicks the gun away, retrieves it, and aims it at Rob. Britt begs him not to shoot. Rob insists that he called the police station during his conversation with David and that someone there promised to check the call records. Before he can continue, Jack shoots him. Chris stops her from firing again. Before dying, Rob states that a woman at the precinct confirmed she would check David's call history. Whoever arrested David would have seen the record. Maddox searches police records and confirms that someone accessed Rob's call data at that time. Chris recalls that Jack was the officer who arrested David and demands an explanation. Jack initially refuses to respond, but Maddox reviews her history and finds that she removed David's phone from evidence and discarded it in the river. Jack admits she did it to demonstrate that the mercy system worked and to maintain public confidence in the program. Chris responds that justice requires accuracy, not certainty, and orders the officers present to arrest her. Afterward, he reunites with Britt. Maddox states that the system executed an innocent man and asks what that means for its purpose. Chris responds that artificial intelligence, like humans, is capable of error and must learn from it. And now you should respond to how many trivias you count.